Hello everybody, welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candice Marie. Thank you for joining me. Super excited to be back giving you guys a early video, and we're going to take a sneak peek into the incoming solar eclipse in Taurus. Yes, I know it's the beginning of April, but we're going to start feeling these energies from the eclipses up to several weeks ahead of time. So I figured why not put it out early, give you guys time to plan and get some insight as to what these new eclipses, both in Taurus and Scorpio, are going to be bringing us in the weeks and months ahead. Those of you guys who are members and subscribers, thanks for coming back. But if you're new to my channel, smash the subscribe button below so that way you're alerted as to when I'm coming out with new videos. Also, if you like my channel and you want to support, comments, sharing, and also joining my memberships makes it possible for me to create this content and put it out for you guys. So do consider looking into that. All right, guys, so obviously super early, I know, but I think this is important going into this next month. If you haven't already taken a look at the energies for the month of April, check out my new moon in Aries video. I talk all about the new lunar cycle, what's going on this month, as well as my horoscopes for all of the 12 signs. Now, this is going to be purely on the eclipse that's taking place on April 30th, 2022 at 1:28 p.m. and that's Pacific time, and it will be 4:28 p.m. Eastern time. I know there's lots of people in different time zones. Please check your time zones and adjust accordingly. All right. So sometimes I kind of feel like I'm a broken record when I do these videos, but I know that there's sometimes new people who want to come and learn more about the eclipses and astrological transits. So some of this stuff might seem like it's a bit of a refresher. But basically, eclipses come in pairs. There is always a new moon solar eclipse and a full moon lunar eclipse. So we see these every 6 months. They happen within 2 weeks of each other. And eclipses, if one thing they promise, it's definitely change. In the sign of Taurus, we're going to be looking at topics like sensuality, embodiment, values, finances, food, wealth, resources, and land. These are always things that are connected to Taurus, as well as self-esteem and what we need for security. Also developing our own personal talents. If you guys think back to mid-2021 in November, I think it was right around the 19th of November, we had a new moon eclipse that was in the sign of Taurus. So that was the very first eclipse in Taurus that kind of marked what would eventually be almost a year and a half of new nodal changes. Now that one happened before the North Node went into Taurus, but it was pretty damn close. So now here we are in the midst of Taurus season. We are going to be setting new intentions. Now, like I said, we feel eclipses up to about a month in advance, and the energies really begin to build and swirl anywhere after what will be the full moon in Libra in about 2 weeks' time. Within that 2-week window from the new moon solar eclipse to the full moon, the full moon lunar eclipse, which will be in mid-May, anything goes, guys. All right. So eclipse windows basically kind of tell us that things are changing, they're evolving, we're seeing new opportunities, we're seeing some doors close. So during this period of time, especially if you have any particular planets on the Taurus-Scorpio axis, and I'll talk about how it's going to affect everyone, you can expect major changes. So new beginnings and also endings, things like people moving, people meeting really significant partners, launching businesses, just big life changes, right? Think of big shifts changing. And under the sign of Taurus and Scorpio, it's always about what I have, what I value, what I find pleasurable, versus Scorpio, which is how we merge together, how we're transforming together. And these axes aren't just connected to finances, they are also connected to our bodies, our reproductive system, what we need for life, and also the other side of the axis, which would be Scorpio, which is grief, loss, letting go, dealing with death and transition. For the most part, though, I got to tell you guys, I'm really loving this eclipse. I'm very excited to see how it materializes for everyone. I feel a lot more optimistic after looking at the aspects and what this eclipse promises for the better part of the next 6 months. It's the second eclipse in mid-May that we're going to be having, the new moon lunar eclipse that I think is going to be a little bit more intense. But part of the reason I wanted to get this video out now is because if you start leaning into making changes in early April, prior to the eclipses coming, which can for some of us feel like it's forcing us to evolve, forcing us to make some uncomfortable changes. Rather than waiting for those events to show up from the end of April through mid-May, we can start working with these energies now. Now, in many ways, in recent weeks, the squares that we've been having to the north and the south node, as planets have been coming into conjunction with Saturn and Aquarius, has been prepping and priming us for some of these shifts. So if like you are somebody, like I said, who has a lot of fixed placements, whether that's Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, or Aquarius, you're definitely feeling that pressure cooker of needing to change and evolve. It could be a sun, moon, or rising placement. So as we've seen these planets come into conjunction with Saturn, it's basically been this long-standing conversation over the last month or two about what does it mean to level up in our partnerships and our friendships. Where do we need to get serious about our goals? Where do we need to really focus on communicating more, being open, working with groups, and looking at new and innovative ways to be able to just upgrade our lives in general. So like I said, we've been prepped and primed as these conjunctions happen, and the squares to the nodes are basically saying it's time. I don't know about you guys, but just right now, as we're seeing Mars come into conjunction with Saturn and start to square the nodes, it's like I am bogged down with so much work. It's not even funny, but I know that getting this stuff moving and shaking now will materialize, especially in the next month or two, as me getting ahead of the curve and just committing to a more consistent kind of work routine, or just focusing more on taking my goals seriously. Like I said, I'll talk about how it's going to affect all of the signs, but for the most part, that's the theme for everybody. Solar eclipses appear always when the moon stands between the sun and the earth. So basically we're saying that we're cutting off the light, so to say, from the sun from our perspective. And solar eclipses are really powerful lunations that take place only during a new moon. Some say that it's a lot more potent than a traditional new moon, several times more potent, and brings exciting new beginnings and fresh starts and new chapters. However, it can be active, right? We think of a solar eclipse is consciousness, awareness, ego. It's a lot of action and like moving around. So there can be a sense of just on the heels of this new moon, which I do think is going to happen within a couple days, we're going to be kind of catapulted into being like, okay, nope, we're actually making these changes. And we're seeing how it affects us, our bodies, our finances, what we find pleasurable. That's going to be like a reoccurring theme because of these eclipses. Now, Taurus is ruled by Venus. It is a fixed earth sign. And Taurus traditionally represents the second house. So coming off of the heels of Aries season, where we've been initiating lots of new fresh starts, Taurus season is like, okay, I've made some changes. How do I feel? Do I feel better in my body? Do I like the food that I'm eating? Do I like this new makeup that I'm trying? There's this sense of adapting to that Uranian energy, which is definitely going to keep this very, very busy. But yeah, the North Node in Taurus, I think, is really helping us get further into our Dharma, right? So the North Node being our Dharma, what we're trying to kind of come into collectively. And I think that any which way you slice it, whether it's the squares we've been experiencing to the nodes, or the fact that both Mars and Venus have been moving very closely side by side, really reinforcing the fact that we can take all the good bits and pieces of our karmic past into the future, as long as we're not allowing it to block our values or block our security. But I think also just the fact that later this year, we're going to see that the North Node will come into conjunction with Uranus. So any which way you slice it, whether you want to start making the changes this month, right before the eclipse, or you kind of go the hard path in the end of July going into August, where there is some kind of hard realignment, I'm going to keep reminding you guys this, okay? So you can drag it out. You can drag it out another, like, what, 4 months maybe? Or you can have the possibility to just jump into it and start physically changing things now. I'm hoping that that's what happens for you guys. We'll see a lot on the second eclipse, like I said, in mid-May. That will, in a way, show us 2 weeks of what we've been working towards. And when we have that full moon in Scorpio, it's going to be super emotional, very intense. There will be more blockages, guys, okay? There is going to be more challenges, more delays, because that eclipse will square Saturn. So I'm really, really, really encouraging you guys to work with this eclipse. Now, when we're looking at the North Node, we're aligning with our destiny, our dharma. So if you're like, I want to feel better, I want to eat better, I want to feel like I look better, I want to be more authentic, I want to develop a personal talent, I want to make more money, I want to innovate my resources, I want to shake things up in regards to my talents in the world, this is the eclipse that you want to work with. Now, the North Node is mysterious, right? It's kind of hazy, foggy. We never really know what it's going to bring. It can oftentimes bring really good things that we didn't see coming, but it can also bring things that are a little bit harder to predict, okay? Especially because of the conjunctions that we're seeing with Uranus. So some of the themes that I put for this eclipse are shaking things up. Ready or not, here we go. That's going to be something that a lot of people are going to be feeling because of the conjunction to Uranus. That's like, okay, well, we're changing things. And being that this is at a 10, it's also about our long-term goals. So where do you want to be in 10 weeks, 10 months, 10 years? Think like that. It's very 10 of coins for me. What is the long-term plan? What do we need to move and kind of shake and disrupt currently, so that way down the road we know that we're actually sitting on top and we're secure? So actually the changes and the shifts that are going on, while they can be a little rattling, they need to happen for our long-term growth, Taurus. Surprise events, Uranus shocks. So this eclipse can definitely bring some tower moments in some lives of my viewers, for sure. I'm certainly expecting some of that in my own life. And as I've said in previous videos, I kind of said to everybody, I think the way to navigate these energies is replacing fear with excitement, okay? I know that might be incredibly optimistic, but replacing fear with excitement. I don't know where we're going, but we're gonna figure it out, right? It's a lot of adapting, kind of pivoting, shifting in a way. Rocks, rattles, and rolls. So this can bring about major events with the Earth, like earthquakes. We can see that with the aspects to planets and Neptune. I'm still waiting for some kind of like earthquake that's happening, you know, off the coast somewhere that can actually affect the ocean and possibly, you know, like waves and like tidal things. So that's something else to watch for as well. Volcanic eruptions, just anything where the Earth is shaking, you know, Uranus. It's about energy and nervousness and tension, especially like within fault lines. It'll help us redefine our values and aesthetics because it is ruled by Venus and it is conjunct Uranus. I'm expecting all kinds of wild and kooky, crazy fashion trends. Kind of loving the fact that like the 90s stuff is kind of coming back, the butterfly clips, all like the sparkly things, like the really kind of boxy shirts and the baggy shirts and jeans. That's very Taurus, right? Taurus is kind of, you know, built tough, kind of thick, kind of bulky, and not in a heavy set way, but in a way that's strong. So it's not unusual for us to see lots of chunky eyeliner and, you know, necklaces and collars and other things that may come from that as well. Possibly even like innovating more natural, you know, plant products or things that are going to be more futuristic in terms of their trends. Romantic dreams, visions, and inspirations. Well, guys, I'm loving the fact that this eclipse embodies a conjunction with Venus, Neptune, and Jupiter in Pisces. It does not get sweeter than that. That, in many ways, is the silver lining to this eclipse, which is basically promising for the better part of the next 6 months, as long as we're focusing on our romantic dreams, visions, and inspirations. We're holding space for that. We're listening to music. We're playing instruments. We're praying. We're meditating. We're visualizing. We're laying by, you know, the beach and doing all of these Venus Neptunian things. That inspiration, that dream, that really kind of whimsical aesthetic really paves the way for getting to where we want to go. So Venus is actually very important because it rules this eclipse. So that's like a really interesting aspect as well. We also see the ability for us to get real about our dreams because Jupiter is also conjunct Neptune. Now, if you guys didn't see my video on the Jupiter conjunct Neptune aspect, Please watch it. I know it's a long one, but I go into all kinds of recommendations and how I anticipate these energies are going to play out globally and for all of the 12 signs. I give tarot card predictions as well as crystal remedies and other things that can really help you guys, because it's hardcore manifestation energy, hardcore. And whether you want to create a vision board or you want to start taking photos of things that inspire you, or writing poetry, creating art, painting, it is phenomenal for really envisioning the life that we want, especially because it's in positive harmonious aspect to Uranus and also the North Node. Working together, well, the Sun Moon is in harmony with Mars. Mars is in Pisces. It's making sextiles to the Sun and Moon and Uranus in Taurus. So what's cool about that is through kind of coming together and sharing our dreams and being more spiritually active and being warriors for peace, being warriors for harmony, for coming together, creating together, the more that we can see Mars's energy can funnel into all the placements in Taurus and really help us create like the dream team, right? I mean, there's going to be many dream teams that are going to come from some of these aspects. Financial changes, I mean, come on guys, when you're seeing eclipses in Scorpio and Taurus, that's inevitable. Once again, financial changes because it's shaking things up. And being that it's at a 10, I'm anticipating that certain governments and larger corporate organizations are going to start radically changing and transforming the way that they handle money and resources. I'm anticipating some major companies may start offering the opportunity to be paid in cryptocurrencies. We're going to start seeing more transactions available with cryptocurrencies. As that craze begins to grow, we're also going to see, because of the aspects between Venus and Jupiter, global exchange, trades, and just the fact that money is changing in a very big way. There is some reorganizing of world powers right now, and there may be many people who want to feel like they have security, so they're moving more money into crypto. Governments are going to start looking more into it, making decisions, passing laws, or in some places completely outlawing the ability to trade or use crypto. Financial changes also because it's conjunct Uranus and it's in a fixed sign. So it can be like, that's it. I'm taking hold of my money. I'm taking control of my money. I'm not liking the squares to Saturn. Saturn from the nodes makes me feel like that some countries may see this, or world leaders, as a threat to financial systems, because there's too much ability to be able to have freedom or have control. So we're also going to see this theme as we go into May, where certain organizations, institutions, and governments are going to lock down and try to control resources. So in many ways, this may be an awesome time to just really look at your portfolios, look at your savings, look at what you're doing with your money, look at where you're buying your food from, and anything that relates to Taurus stuff. So you can kind of diversify in all ways, shapes, and forms. Teams uniting because of the Uranian influence. So I do see that this can also bring people together. It's very revolutionary energy, and it's going to give the ability for many of us to really innovate in life in general. So you really want to look at where Taurus is in your chart. Food innovations. I say this because Uranus is in positive harmonious aspect to planets that are in Pisces. I think that's going to materialize as more food ops, new brands, or ways of getting, growing, or learning about food and where your food comes from. Now, on the flip side, we got squares from Saturn to the nodes. So this may materialize as more issues with shortages, finding that there are delays, there's issues with the chain, where food is coming from, and if we can get it, and shocks revolving around not having enough of something. Guys, one of the best things I can tell you is just look into getting seeds. As crazy as that sounds, get some seeds, get some heirloom seeds, save them, hold on to them, whether you want to actually plant them in a backyard garden. If you want to start learning more about hydroponics, this can be a wonderful time because of the aspects between Taurus and also Pisces. If you want to have like a little window garden, anything like that, food, community gardens, and just going more to your farmers markets or co-ops and expanding the ways that you can get the things that you need if we encounter some of these issues. Now, crystal recommendations that I would make for working with this energy, and especially because Uranus is a bit destabilizing and it's wobbly and it kind of shocks our system, I would recommend malachite, emerald, blue kyanite, green adventurine, and sodalite. These are some of the best things to work with. Some people like working with lapis. That's cool too. You can do that, or maybe chrysocolla. That could be another one. Anything that's going to work with the throat chakra. So if you want something that's going to help you find your voice or communicate more clearly, wearing necklaces to do that can be very helpful, or meditating with those stones. Herbs that I would recommend would be honeysuckle, rose, patchouli, or violet. Now you can use these like fresh flowers if you want to put that around. You can use these in essential oils or diffusers or incense as well. If you like to burn candles, the colors that I would recommend would be green, gold, brown, or blue. Personally, I like green. That's just me. I mean, you can keep it super simple. Do a green candle, put a little bit of patchouli on there, put a little bit of rose, and there you go. You don't really need too much. Taurus is very simple, right? It tells us to get back to basics. If you don't have all of the supplies, magically speaking, you can make a lot happen just by going outside, you know, gardening a little bit, getting your feet in the dirt, maybe, you know, doing some flower collecting, some wildflowers, or if you want to snip some roses and bring them inside, that's a wonderful way to do that as well. But lots of emphasis on the throat chakra, because that's what Taurus rules. So singing, communicating and talking to people and just sharing your voice is going to be an important theme. But Taurus rituals, at least ones that I like to participate in, are anything that involves self-care. Okay. Self-care for some people is like going to Sephora, at least it is for me. Self-care for others can be face masks, getting massages, being more in the body, getting in nature, working with Bach essences. That's something else that's really great. So if you're somebody who's trying to kind of stabilize your energies, working with Bach essences that are really compounded from flowers, and you can find certain Bach essences and floral essences that you want to work with for different intentions. But I would really recommend massages and just working with crystals or being out in nature to better ground your energy. I think that's really what's going to help you guys the best. I will also tell you that when this eclipse comes in, just a heads up, Mercury is in shadow, okay? So, you know, Mercury will be at 0 degrees of Gemini, and it will retrograde back at the end of May going into June over these degrees. And it will actually come into conjunction with the same degree that we had the eclipse for in Taurus last November. So just be mindful that some stuff, you know, it's like people, I get the whole thing with like new moons and you want to launch something new, but I'm a little iffy about anything happening within, you know, 2 or 3 days of a new moon. Like, I would not launch a business then, at least an eclipse new moon like this. I wouldn't launch a business. I wouldn't have an insane, crazy change in my appearance. I wouldn't do a surgical procedure. I wouldn't recommend getting married. Be mindful if you're traveling and moving around and kind of doing things. Obviously, like, life happens and some of this stuff can materialize, but that's why I wanted to put this out early and just kind of let people know. Because the energies are still shifting right around the time of an eclipse, be more mindful if you're planning any major life events during that time. Now, I want to talk to you guys about the Sabian symbol for this, and it's going to be, we're going to be looking at 10, okay, so it'll be 11 degrees of Taurus because we round up. So let's pull that up and we'll see how this relates to what I'm seeing in the chart. There we go, 11, okay. 11 degrees of Taurus, a woman sprinkling flowers. The keyword is care. The theme is a green thumb. It speaks to the creativity as an outbreathing of self that increases the value and enjoyment of life, to desire to pour the self into everything that offers potential for growth. The image of a woman sprinkling flowers shares the concept of nurturance and affection, care and attention. On a practical level, it illustrates that the care required to bring any creative project to fruition. An individual gets out of life what they're willing to put into it. At its highest, this symbol is thoughtfulness, conscientiousness, and a natural gift for bringing out the best in others. Watch for superficial involvements, the inability to grasp a deeper meaning of things. The accent is on nurturing. Things may demand your attention today. Children and others who may rely on you are especially demanding. You may be worrying more about the health and growth of your special projects. Guard against wasting your time on trivial matters. Nurturing, generosity, responsibility, thoughtfulness, caretaking. So what are you watering, right? What are you giving life to? This is an awesome new moon, I think, too. Also, if you can find like those little seed papers, sometimes they have like those pieces of paper that are like natural that have seeds in them, and you can like write on them and then you can plant them. That would be a really great way. Even if you just, you know, you live in the city, whatever, get a pot, sit down, write all your intentions, maybe put it in a pot with some soil, meditate with it, put a crystal on it, put it somewhere where you can watch it grow. That is really how you guys want to handle this. And in the same way that you're going to, you know, take care of that plant and rotate it, make sure it gets light and water, and you're misting it and you're singing to it, whatever you guys do. It's the same thing with some of the projects that are going on in our life right now. And with some of the squares that we're seeing to Saturn, I would say we want quality over quantity. Taurus would want that too. Taurus will always say, go with something that's better. Go with something that's organic. Go with something that is going to be a little bit more, but it's going to last in the long run. It's about quality. So many people, I think, are going to learn from these eclipses in April and May that if we want quality, we need to take our time. We need to actually let the plant, you know, grow and come into itself and blossom. We can't rush something. We can't rush resources, money, financial situations. We can't rush issues revolving around our self-esteem. And we need to focus more on what we're nurturing. 2 weeks later, then we're going to go, okay, for me to really nurture this, I got to clean out the closet, or I got to get rid of the old plants, or, you know, I got to move to the bigger house. And I'm going to keep drilling this in, guys. The eclipse in mid-May is so much more difficult. Focus on planting new seeds. I'm very excited to see what manifests from this, especially considering the fact that there's so many positive aspects between Venus and Jupiter and Neptune. I think in many ways, this is the super, you know, conjunction that many astrologers have really been waiting for. Venus is exalted in Pisces. Jupiter and Neptune both rule Pisces. Anything that can be also incorporating baths and healing or soaking or cleansing also can be very positive for this particular eclipse as well. All right, so let's get into what's going to happen for each and every one of the 12 signs. I'm going to be pulling some tarot cards for you guys and letting you know what I see and giving you some intuitive messages. I will be working with the Ethereal Visions Illuminated Tarot deck. I think it's very like, you know, Venus Neptune-ish, very pretty. And it's got all this beautiful gold trim. I have so many tarot decks, I decided just to start bringing different ones out for different videos, and when we have like different lunations that may relate energetically very much to, you know, whatever's kind of going on. So hopefully you guys like that, trying to include more aspects like with the herbal stuff, the crystal stuff into the channel. So you're really having much more of a better rounded out kind of practice, right? It's wonderful to understand astrology. It's wonderful to like tarot. It's cool to like crystals and herbs. But when you get into the habit of like learning how they all tie in together and how to work with them, that's when you can make magic really happen. So I have some notes here for all of you guys. So let's go ahead and pull this up. Lots of notes, lots and lots of notes. Okay, so please listen for your sun, moon, and rising sign. Your rising sign is the one that I would listen to first, followed by your sun and then your moon. If you don't know your astrological placements, you haven't seen your natal chart, check out an online birth chart calculator. You can go to astro.com and do it for free, or you can hire an astrologer like me to read your chart and help you understand these energies as they're happening. I will say very quickly before I segue into this, this will be the most challenging for the fixed signs, okay? So if you are, once again, a Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, or an Aquarius, sun, moon, or rising, you are going to feel this the most. You really want to pay attention to what I have to say, especially your ascendant. Your sun sign, though, can very much affect you. It can be the consciousness of how you interpret these energies, so it may play out in some ways. The moon sign is much more how it affects you emotionally. I am using whole sign Western astrology for these predictions, okay? If you resonate with your progress chart, you can listen to that too. Totally fine. All right, and anyone who has fixed placements between 8 and 12 degrees, you're going to experience the square. If you are a Taurus, sun, moon, or rising, it'll affect you immensely. It's new beginnings in many ways, so listen up to where it's happening for you. If your birthday is anywhere between the 1st and the 4th of May, okay, if that is your birthday, holy cow, please consider getting a reading because you have a new moon that's happening and it's an eclipse on your birthday. That means everything's brand new for the next year. Manifesting, clearing the slate, getting ready is very important. You may experience a little bit more turbulence at the end of April because there's like a clearing out that happens, so you have a fresh start. So really listen to your ascendant predictions so you know where this is taking place for you. Scorpios, pay attention as well. Scorpio, sun, moon, or rising. This will impact you quite immensely as well. Okay. So Aries and Aries rising, let's take a look at what the energies have in store for you for this eclipse. So we've got a new moon solar eclipse in your 2nd house of money and resources, okay? This deals very specifically with the money you have, what you make, your values. So themes are going to be new resources, new opportunities to build your self-esteem, financial goals, manifesting, okay? So that's all that's kind of taking shape for you. Some of you guys are thinking more about land, buying land, building land, working more with money, working more with cryptocurrencies. This also is including your 2nd and your 7th house. So we're looking at Venus being the ruler of your 2nd house. It's also going to be the ruler of your 7th. So there's something about how you're building with other people. It will be conjunct your 11th house Lord. Once again, groups and other people. So it's like a lot of reevaluating, are these friendships for me? Is this person for me? How can we build together? You've noticed there's like a really strong emphasis on your groups right now. Be mindful, there can be some iffiness with borrowing or lending between friendships, okay? That can be a little iffy. And I think that you're just kind of weighing your options and asking yourself more, how do I achieve my financial goals? This is a very strong eclipse for you to set intentions revolving around bringing in more wealth and eventually going into next month, ratifying old debts and like kind of like clearing them out and letting go of support from other people so you can really feel like you can stand on your own 2 feet, okay? The card that I got for you is the Sun, of course, right? Solar eclipse, hello. Beautiful card for you. I think it's really talking about the fact that you're really shining a light on your worth. And it's like, whether it's like, no, I know that I don't deserve fast food, I deserve steak. Or if it's like a situation where you're like, I just know I can make more, I know I'm worth more, I know I'm capable of more. It's shining a light on that. It wants to bring you more joy, more creativity. It wants you to feel more solid and more kind of at peace and happy in your own skin. So maybe it's about really showing your natural talent, sharing it with other people, being able to collaborate with others and bring your talents to the table where you can actually help a group. So pay attention to that, get lots of sunshine, work on maybe sun salutations, be outside and be working with solar energies. Taurus and Taurus rising, well, aren't you the star of this eclipse? New moon, new you, but big time with an eclipse that is in your personal sign. If it is or around your birthday, happy birthday to you. Guys, I have to tell you, this is going to be a big one. This eclipse is pulling in the energies of both your 1st house, which is you and your body, as well as the energies of your 6th house. So it's about you focusing on health goals, schedule goals, shifted things revolving around how you look. It could be a radical change in your appearance. It could be that you suddenly want to pierce your nose, get dreadlocks, get a tattoo, something's changing. You might have like a more of like a bohemian kind of vibe going on. Some of you guys are growing your hair out. Some of you guys are majorly changing just how you want to dress and express yourself. Aligning with your goals is going to be a very big theme, and also finding new community. Now, this eclipse is going to be conjunct your 10th house Lord. So it tells me that you want to feel like you're in control of yourself. You're not wanting to be bogged down or limited from self-expression, especially in the workplace. Maybe some of you guys are finally fed up and you're like, you know what? I want to do things my way. I want to work for myself. I'm going to stick it to the man. You can be a little bit more reactionary and just a little bit more active than usual. If you are a Taurus rising, this is likely to be really kind of nervous energy for the body. So like a couple days revolving around the eclipse, just take it easy, really focus on, you know, chilling out your nervous system. Try not to go toe to toe with people. And I would say be mindful of any like radical shifts, like shaving your head or doing something to your body permanently that you may not particularly want to keep, something that you may regret. For Taurus moons, this can be an opportunity for you to have radical changes revolving around your emotional goals, your home, where you're living, things like that. And if it is a Taurus sun, it can be big changes and shifts in regards to your awareness, realizing that you're ready for freedom. And it can also be just a time where there's just lots of new creative opportunities when it comes to your career. So let's see what the cards have to say for you, Taurus. Strength. Lots of solar cards so far, so this is interesting. This is the energy that's related to Leo, but this is also the energy that's related to the sun. So strength card is talking about finding that inner strength. It can be that maybe you're focusing more on strength training or weightlifting or toning up. But it can also just be about you pulling through a situation, really reminding yourself how far you've come, how difficult things have been, the fact that you've overcome things. I really feel like you're really going to love this eclipse, especially with Venus conjunct Jupiter and Neptune. It's like all of your goals are coming together and it's almost hard to believe. Like you might look at yourself and go, I am a completely different person than I was 6 months ago or a year ago. And it's radically different and it's more creative and more beautiful and free, but it's more authentic. And so I think that the strength card is just kind of telling you like, I can get through anything. You know, you might kind of feel like you're at the top of the world. It's just important not to feel like you need to manhandle situations. And it's about letting things evolve as they may. And I think really kind of building on some of the accomplishments that you have already achieved. For Gemini and Gemini rising, we have got this eclipse taking place in your 12th house. It is activating the rulers of your 12th and your 5th house. This is going to bring you creative visions, vacations or retreats, spiritual retreat opportunities, being behind the scenes, being behind the camera, and having a new faith, okay? So it's going to involve also your natal 9th house Lord, Uranus. So that conjunction happening in the 12th makes me wonder if some of you guys are getting away from it all. You're traveling somewhere. You're working more in a foreign place or with foreigners. You're learning more about your spirituality, or you're having some kind of higher continuing education. Maybe you're behind the camera, so you're doing a lot of filming, or you're working with studios or editing, or you're kind of locked away in a private room or a private office and just getting stuff done. What I love about this for you is that it does offer the ability for you to retreat and have some spiritual R&R and just more rest and renewal. As we come into this eclipse, Gemini, it's right before what is going to be your birthday. So this is this natural clearing that may be happening for you going into May next month. But I personally think that you might be feeling like you need to retreat a little bit. Your dreams can be very prominent. Eclipses there with Uranus make me feel like you might start seeing some very symbolic things or having precognitive dreams or visions, and that your intuition is just like on high. The card that I get is the 5 of Pentacles. So this is about learning to let go of some things. We can see endings and, things really coming to completion in the 12th. But I think that what it's reminding you is that you have to let go of this feeling that's like, I'm not going to have enough, or there isn't going to be enough, or I'm isolated, I'm out in the cold. This can be a much more difficult energy to work with. It can represent the feeling of not having support or not knowing where to turn. But I think that with all of these energies that are setting up in Pisces in your 10th house, it's about asking for help, turning to people or individuals or groups or professional alliances that are actually going to give you more. There can be some startling things that can kind of come up also in regards to resources, although that's not really getting triggered in this chart. Intuitively, I would say also watch out for, like, because it involves both your 12th and your 5th house Lord, there can be a sense of like feeling cut off from somebody or from something, or not feeling the love. So if it's not a financial thing, it can be more romantic. Okay, so hang in there, Gemini. Cancer and Cancer rising. This is a eclipse taking place in your 11th house of goals, friendships, associations, networks, especially wealthy people or people who have some kind of security or something to offer in the world. Now it's involving the rulers of your 4th and your 11th house. So your 4th house relates to home, roots, and family, emotions. And it is in conjunction to your 8th house Lord, Uranus. Wowzers. Cancer, some friendships have to come to an end, okay? It's just, it is what it is. There's no real way of candy coating it. You might kind of find out who your friends are. You might really see some people's true colors. You may have friends that really come through for you, and they help you in some way and give you a place to live, or they may feel like they're bringing you in like your family. There can be a sense of, you know, feeling like there needs to be some living arrangement changes, especially if you're like possibly living with friends or you're thinking about living with friends. There can be changes with partners because it involves Uranus, which is your 8th house Lord, and just major goals changing, revolving around your resources. And you may feel like in order to pull through, you need really strong friendships and really strong relationships with family. For the most part, I would say you want to focus on your goals and like who is kind of in your circle. Taurus in the 11th house is friends who do not waver, friends who do not necessarily come and go, really looking for people who are going to have your back and who are going to help you feel supported. Watch though, because I think with the 8th house Lord being in the mix, it does make me feel like there can be some issues revolving around situationships, friendships, learning to define the difference between a romantic relationship and a friendship. That's very important. That theme is going to keep coming up for you, Cancer. And whether or not your friends are getting on with your romantic partners, that's another way, or whether or not you're having a breakthrough emotionally and psychologically and talking to people about issues you've been experiencing. The card that I get is the 9 of Pentacles. Woo-woo! Looks like you're going to come through it. You're going to be fine, especially if you've been really stressed out about money or resources. This is a really great card because it's about treating yourself, really focusing on giving yourself everything that you need. It doesn't necessarily mean financially. It can mean more attention, better self-care, eating better, you know, just really kind of bringing yourself back to being like, I'm okay if I'm on my own. And this can be a card that's talking about having everything that you need within arm's reach. So it's kind of like you're not going to feel like you don't have what you need when these eclipses hit. Thankfully, you know, I didn't say this, but the eclipse does do better for the most part for all earth signs, and it does relate very well to water signs. So Cancer, you will benefit from this energy. Just be mindful, like I said, that some goals revolving around groups or friendships are coming to an end, okay? For Leo and Leo rising, this is an eclipse in your 10th house of career. So big things going on, setting the stage for new intentions when it comes to your responsibilities out in the world. It includes both your 10th and your 3rd house Lord. And it is in conjunction to your 7th house Lord. So this makes me feel like you're having important conversations with loved ones, partners, siblings, neighbors. Your phone might be ringing off the hook. There might be a need for you to sit down and have a serious conversation with one of these people, make agreements or sign contracts. Now, I could see where this is like talking about and discussing where are we going in our partnership? Where are we going in our business partnership? Where do we have to kind of get everything out on a piece of paper and make it legitimate? This is going to be a big turning point for how you communicate with others, how you communicate with people professionally, with partnerships, bringing in clients, or just really kind of talking to your romantic partners about where it is you want to go. Leo, it has been a lot of work in your relationships. I see the transits that you're going through. So maybe now is the time to really sit down and talk to somebody about what your heart wants. The Lovers. Great card. I feel like, especially because this is like a very mercurial energy, that it's allowing you to finally have the ability to sit down and just kind of like call a spade and just be like, you know, I'm in love with you. What are we doing? Or I would love to work with you, or I love what you're doing. I use that because the Lovers does talk about communicating and expressing what can be romantic love, but it can be creative love as well. This card sometimes comes up when we're dealing with like twin flames, soulmates, things like that. I'm not big on those terms, but certainly this card can talk about finally saying I love you, or coming into contact with the love of your life, or discussing where you hope your union can go. Looks pretty good for you, Leo. In spite of all of the difficult transits, I think it'll be next month that you're going to be seeing where you're having to kind of move and shift things around quite literally within your home to facilitate some of these partnerships. For Virgo and Virgo rising, you have this eclipse happening in your 9th house, and this is a sister sign because you guys are both a part of the Earth family. It is involving your 9th and your 2nd house Lord. So it's all about travel and money and resources and like legal stuff or education. And it's conjunct Uranus, which is your 6th house Lord. This tells me that it's time to get money in order. Legal matters, scheduling changes, traveling opportunities, completing higher education or spiritual lessons, learning to be more optimistic, and having, I think, an opportunity to just learn more about health and wellness. So there can be a sense of learning more about that. An eclipse in your 9th house, especially a new moon, is like if you want to continue education and go and get, you know, a higher degree or apply for school, it's a great time to start that. I do believe that I would go big, so I would look further out, go to the best of the best. If you're wanting to get a higher degree in art or law or anything pertaining to herbalism or plants or anything like that, this is a wonderful time as well. We can see some startling stuff come up in regards to lawsuits whenever we're having eclipses in the 9th house. But because it's in positive, harmonious aspect actually to your 7th, I think it's more about finding people who can help you apply for colleges, finding people who can help you plan a wedding, finding people who can represent you if you want to try and publish something and become an author. So there's support here, there's counselors, there's partners that will show up. But with the aspects to Saturn in your 6th, I think that it can be a lot of like, I need to go back to school. How do I schedule this? I want to make time for travel. How do I arrange work in a way that I can? Some of you guys may be in a situation where there is like a letting go at work, or maybe some of you guys will have like lawsuits against employees or against employers in general, or coworkers. That can come up as well. And I would just say be mindful that if you're in a position where you need somebody to represent you, or if you need a partnership, go and look for it once this eclipse has happened. I'm really excited to see how this is manifesting for Virgos too, especially with all the conjunctions between Jupiter and Venus in your 7th. Makes me feel like you're like falling in love and meeting a really prominent partner. The Hierophant, of course, right? Go and find the professional, the lawyer, the teacher, the professional, the counselor. That's what this is. So it looks to me like a guru can show up, or a mentor can show up, or somebody who can just really kind of align you with the direction that you need to be going with. So you're getting the advice you need, the practical advice, especially from somebody who's experienced or somebody who's been in that situation, who can kind of guide you and help you figure out what direction you need to go in and the proper way to go about it. So we've got Libra and Libra rising. This is an eclipse taking place in your 8th house, Libra, and it is the ruler of both your 8th house and your 1st. It's including Venus. So it's conjunct your 5th house Lord. This looks very active for you, Libra and Libra rising. A lot about transforming your appearance. This can be through new surgical procedures. P.S. No surgery, please, for you right around these dates. If you have one, please really look into it and reconsider. Be careful with the dates. But changing and transforming your appearance, pregnancy, sudden windfalls of money, letting go of old lovers, and committing to happiness or creativity. Libra, this can be a more startling eclipse for you because it's taking place in your 8th house. So this is where we see death, transformation, rebirth. Sometimes the deaths aren't quite literal. It can be, you know, okay, a resource goes out, but something else comes in. It can be that an investment pays off suddenly, but you have to pay taxes on it. Libras, watch what's going on with all of these exchanges with the 8th house energies. Eclipses in your 8th house involving your 5th house Lord does make me feel like some of you guys are suddenly changing your taxes, doing taxes with a new partner. Maybe you have a new accountant. Maybe you're trying to figure out how to navigate getting pregnant. Maybe some of you guys are having surprise pregnancies, especially this and next month. So be mindful of that. For the most part, though, I think that it can be really positive and it can help you let go of like old blocks in the heart and creative blocks or old lovers, so you can be more open to new love. So if you haven't met anybody or your emphasis is really on finding somebody and committing to a happier relationship, this eclipse is for you. Ace of Wands. Really passionate, creative energy, new beginnings. This is a fire energy, so I think it's talking about being like, I'm starting this new project, I'm doing this new thing. Energy healing, energy clearing can be very helpful for you. And I also feel like with the aspects to your 6th house, it's like, these are not the easiest place to have sextiles between your 6th and your 8th house. Some of your health problems can be alleviated through the help of a therapist or somebody who is used to kind of working more in an 8th house way, can be a reader or an astrologer. But this is promising that there's going to be new life, new creative energies, new beginnings, and you're feeling passionate and really excited to get some of these things started. Very nice for you, Libra. For Scorpio and Scorpio rising, this is an eclipse taking place in your natal 7th house. Now it's involving Venus, so this is the ruler of your natural 7th and 12th houses. And it's going to be in a conjunction to Uranus, your 4th house Lord. Holy cow, Scorpio, buckle up. The next month or so is definitely going to have a lot of changes that are going on for you. It can be very unnerving. Basically, bottom line is this. You're clearing out the past and you're emotionally detoxing. And you're clearing out any fears, subconscious fears that you have revolving around relationships and whether or not relationships can work. You're learning to detox in some way. You have an opportunity for a fresh start in relationships, especially if you're a single. Like, this is an eclipse that I feel like is setting the stage to bring in a very prominent person. Can be within the next month. It can be within 6 months. So keep in mind, eclipses are not just within a 2-week to a 4-week window. It can take up to 6 months and even more sometimes to manifest. But a new moon here is saying that if you are looking for somebody, set intentions around relationships. If you're in a relationship, if there's been some issues, especially in terms of like communication or problems domestically or with the family, you can get a fresh start here. Because it is aspecting your 4th house Lord, it's telling me that there can be friction revolving around electrical issues in the home. There can be literal, like, you know, conflict or kind of chaos going on between you and your family member or your spouse and your family member. Be mindful of like leaving romantic partners, boyfriends, girlfriends, husbands, wives with a problematic family member. If they are around them, there can be problems and it can cause a lot of chaos in your home. But for the most part, it's really allowing you to have a fresh start. And I'm loving the sextiles. You've got the Jupiter, Neptune, Venus conjunction in your 5th house, which is telling me, Scorpio, you're falling in love. You're committing more seriously to relationships. You're committing more seriously to self-employment, maybe thinking about having a child. Some of you guys with these eclipses are going to realize, oh my God, we're pregnant. So we're getting married, or we're pregnant. Now we have to move. Something's going on there. All right, so let's take a look at what the cards say. Judgment. Fuck. Judgment card. So it's saying you have to make decisions. Scorpio, you're kind of under the gun. Like with some of the eclipses that are in your sign and also in your 7th house with a square to your 4th house is There are decisions that have to be made about relationships, home and family. You need to deal with it. Judgment is saying now is the time. There can be lots of karmic repercussions going on this month relating to how you're expressing yourself or how you're making choices about your future. Judgment says that you are being held accountable for some of the decisions that you've made in the past. Be mindful that when you're working with a new moon eclipse, it's like you're putting things in motion that are actually going to be set in stone for a long time. So if you're taking on a business partner, getting engaged, getting married, talking about having a kid, it's like you have to stick to all of the things because you're creating dharma. All right, so for Sag and Sag rising, we have got an eclipse happening in your natal 6th house. And it's traditionally ruled by Venus, which rules your 6th and your 11th house. And you've got Uranus in a conjunction with this eclipse, which rules your 3rd. I'm seeing for you health or scheduling issues, okay? You need to be very mindful of where habits, addictions, patterns, falling back into old patterns are somehow connected to what has been trauma or crisis. There can be issues revolving around a health of a pet or a coworker, changes in your schedule, healing addictions, better mental health, better self-talk, so on and so forth. This is a more difficult energy for you, Sag. You really need to be mindful of anything in relation to your health, right? And being that it's connected to Venus and you have Venus in your 4th house now, it's like, how can you rearrange your space so you feel better? How can you pay better attention to your emotional, kind of vibrations and energies so you feel like you're making better choices, whether that's like not sleeping in, not eating junk food, if that's eating organic. It's a lot of stuff that relates to the body and your daily routine. Now, Taurus rules the throat, the neck. So whether it's your throat, your neck, your tonsils, anything like that, pay attention to those issues. Thyroid stuff can fall under here as well. There may be more of a sense of building and like building muscle or kind of bulking up. Maybe you've like lost weight and now you're like looking to kind of build yourself back. Maybe it's that, a pet swallows a squeaky toy. Whatever it is, I'm telling you, keep an eye on your animals. Be mindful that your schedule is very likely to change. And to me, it seems like just learning how to adapt to some of these changes better. And a lot of it is focusing on better self-talk, right? We've seen all these aspects between, Uranus and also Aquarius. So Saturn being in your 3rd house is, okay, I got to move my schedule around. I got to take the dog to the vet. Oh my God, I'm stressed out. Am I stress eating? Also, if you need to service a vehicle or maybe if a sibling needs your assistance, that could be another thing that comes up for you. The card that I get is the King of Pentacles. So this is great, actually. So this can be talking about being like, I've got it, I'm handling it, it's under control, right? I'm in control of what's going on with my resources, making sure I'm, sending out payroll, making sure I'm handling business, taking care of business, eating well, feeling good. This can also just talk about an earth sign coming in who can help you. So it can be a Taurus, a Capricorn, or a Virgo who comes in who wants to help you organize your space, be your trainer, your dietitian, be your assistant. 6th house is anything revolving around like service. So if you need a service, if you need somebody to come in and like reorganize, decorate, or rework your home, looks like somebody is going to help. So we've got now Capricorn and Cap rising. We've got an eclipse here in your 5th house, and it's harmonious because it is a sister sign. You are also a part of the Earth family. And it involves the energy of Venus. Well, Venus traditionally rules your 5th and your 10th house, Capricorn. Now, during this eclipse, we see that it is going to be in a conjunction to your 2nd house Lord. So it does involve money, does involve resources, but it also involves like falling in love, joy, pregnancy, new hobbies, new talents, and they're being unveiled. It's like, oh, look what I've been working on. Look at this, art piece that I've been kind of putting together. Look at this, painting that I've been painting, this sculpture that I've been working on. More creative energy, more opportunities for self-employment. Wow. I love the conjunction with your 3rd house Lord. Your 2nd house Lord. Uranus is in conjunction here. Lovers can appear out of the blue, children can appear out of the blue, but I think it's about you learning to nurture something more. You may play around a little bit with investments, a little bit with the stock market or cryptocurrencies. That might be something that interests you. Maybe it's just you really taking a risk and going, I really love this hobby. I'm going to invest more time into it. I really like it. Or let me see if I can grow this to the point where I can try to be self-employed. That can be another way that you could be nurturing something. But something is being unveiled. And it's unveiled in regards to something that is going to grow. And to me, it looks like there is a sense of accomplishment and pride tied to whatever manifests and comes up for you. Judgment again. So be mindful of the decisions that you make. They will have consequences. Everything happening now is happening for a reason. It's coming up because it needs to be dealt with. You need to make a decision. I feel like, you know I keep saying this, but Capricorn, Scorpio energies, you guys are the ones that are having eclipses somehow tied to home, family, children, creativity. So Capricorn, you can be somebody else who's like, do I do it? Do I not do it? Do I launch the business? Do I not launch it? I say when judgment comes up, it's like do or die. You have to make this decision. It's now or never. If you have planets that are in Capricorn around that 8 to 12 degrees of Taurus, it's really going to be beneficial. It's worth taking a risk, whether it's on a person, having a kid, or launching a business. I say do it. For Aquarius and Aquarius rising, we've got an eclipse happening in your 4th house, and it is going to rock and roll. Now, it is ruled by Venus, which is traditionally connected to your 4th and your 9th house. But this eclipse is conjunct your Lord Uranus, and I'm wondering what is going on. Are you the shit disturber at home? Are you deciding to just remove yourself from a home and living situation? Are you like, that's it, I'm moving? Is there some kind of weird chaos going on with your family? Something is happening here. Now, like I said, it is connected to your 4th and your 9th house because it's Venusian energies. So I could see sudden moves, relocations, new homes for some family members, fresh starts, long distance travel or relocations, learning more about your roots. I guess the good news is with an eclipse here in your 4th house, even if it's crazy, it's private. It's not going to be super public like it will be for Leo and Scorpio. But I do think that it's giving you the opportunity, if you're not happy, if you're feeling restless and you need to have your own space, or you need to just sell a house or get free of a living situation, if you finally need to have it out with a family member and be like, that's it, we're not dealing with this anymore, it's in the past, there can be estate or home or property issues that come up. Thankfully, with all the aspects to Pisces, it's likely to play out into your favor. So a lot of you guys are going to make money off of some of these situations, or sell a house and end up coming up on something, or God forbid, touch wood, eclipses in the 4th can be ending. So it can be somebody passes and you inherit something, you inherit land, a house, money, valuables. It's all kind of like Taurus related things. But I think the family's going to be shaken up a little bit. And I'm just getting this impression with this eclipse that with the friction between Saturn in your sign and Uranus in your 4th, it's like you're wanting to be better with your boundaries with people that you're living with, maybe in your apartment complex, maybe your partner. And this can be a make or break time for you when it comes to your home and living environment. 8 of Wands, you're on the move. It's big change energy. It's like, okay, nope, we're doing this now. You might have to think on your feet. It might be like a chance opportunity that comes, but you have to do it very quickly. Regardless, it looks like the energy is already going in that direction. It'll be a very active 8 weeks where I think that if you have to move things, it will be swift, but you're gonna have the energy and the vitality to do it. And guess what? If you have to go home, go home. If something's going on with home and family, get on the plane, get in the car, go. Just trust me on this, because you'll have to kind of think on your feet a little bit. But for the most part, I see it being really positive and you having the energy to do it. And last but not least, we have Pisces. This is an eclipse in your natal 3rd house, Pisces, and it's involving your 3rd and your 8th house because it's tied to Venus. It will be conjunct your 12th house Lord. Well, automatic writing, strong intuition, strong dreams, dream journals, channeling can happen. Opportunities also for new vehicles, electric vehicles perhaps. and learning new things in general, new languages, new books, new lessons, divination, spiritual group, learning how to communicate your fears more appropriately. Okay, that's a big thing because we're seeing conjunctions to your 12th house Lord in the 3rd. And I would say be very careful when you're driving. Please take your time, slow down. You don't want to be dealing with a situation where you're rushing or you're looking at a screen or you're under the influence or you fall asleep at the wheel. I have seen sometimes this happen with squares between the 12th and the 3rd house. Now, for the most part though, I think that it can be about you embarking on a new period of just communicating differently. Perhaps maybe you're moving suddenly, you have the opportunity to move, or you have a dream that a move is coming. Maybe you start writing something and it turns into what could be a new blog, a podcast, a new website, something like that that you're going to be participating in, and giving insights, incorporating like lots of visions and images. Maybe you're starting a new business online and you're selling courses or you're teaching something. Regardless, this eclipse is actually really positive for you, as it is for all of the water signs in general. And I just want you, when in doubt, to communicate, but realize that your nervous system is a little on edge. A sibling may have a crisis, a neighbor may have a crisis, somebody may need your assistance, they may be in a situation where they call you, they need you to talk them kind of off the ledge. That can be something else that happens. Or anything in regards to documents and paperwork and traveling. There can be some startling events in regards to that. The card that I get is the 5 of Cups. So this is a card that reminds you that if something comes about that's more difficult to deal with, if there is grief, loss, or what have you, it's about shifting your mental mindset and your perspective and not sitting in that. I know some of the transits for you have been difficult, Pisces. I know that there's lots of cycles that are ending, but I also know that the 5 of Cups does remind us that we can mourn something, but we can't stay there for too long. Otherwise, we kind of fall into that pit, right? So there's some beautiful energies which are kind of contradicting setting up. All the planets in Pisces on your ascendant are promising more hope for the future, more of like a visionary, optimistic mindset. Prayer and belief can be really important for you right now. And just know that with the next couple of eclipses that are going to start happening, more so in Scorpio, it's shifting your life perspective and it's shifting your philosophy, and communication and writing is just going to keep being reinforced time and time again, and the need to really kind of communicate what you've been afraid of or where you've been hurt. Okay? Hopefully this was helpful for you guys. I'm super stoked to see how this plays out for all of you. Please let me know, where is this eclipse taking place in your chart? Leave me a message or a comment. I'd love to hear what you're anticipating or what actually happens even after the eclipse, because like I said, this is very, very active from really mid-April all the way until the beginning of June. So some things might hit a week early, some things might not happen to the beginning of May. Regardless, try to go into this period with lots of optimism. Maintain all of that Venusian energy. Spend time by the beach, at the pool, soaking. Nurture yourself. Really ground your energy in nature and focus on the silver linings. That's the best thing that I can recommend for all of you. If you'd like to check out my website and book a session with me, please do. The links are below, as is my social media. If you want to follow me and see some really fun astro memes, that's usually what I'm hosting. I'm always here on Saturday nights. We alternate during my live readings. You can find me here at 7 o'clock p.m. most Saturday evenings. That's on Pacific time, 10 o'clock Eastern. So if you would like to get in and get a 3-card tarot reading, or if you'd like to ask a question about your astrology chart, please do. I would love to help you. Otherwise, I will see all of you guys very soon. Please come back to this video as needed as you're making decisions and creating change before this eclipse happens. Otherwise, I'll see you soon. Take care.